I'm Mikhail too. I met a lot of people from TEC and stuff at Paris, which was pretty fun. I kind of do some engineering around governance related stuff, so I focus on like sort of building and like researching political infrastructure and ways to like kind of bridge decentralized concepts into those sort of areas, and kind of just do stuff in between that, teaching like Web3 onboarding stuff and yeah, fun stuff in between, but super into what you guys sort of do, so thought I'd kind of pop in a little bit.
Awesome. Great to have you here. Welcome. Jade?
Yeah, so yeah, I have a background. I typically work as an analyst in politics and government. I worked on Andrew Yang's campaign and for nonprofits, felt the extreme inefficiencies of those systems and wanted to, just explore different ways of creating a better society, and just stumbled upon Web3 earlier this year. Met Sean at Refi Summit, I believe. And then just attended the Token Engineering Academy event at ECC along with Mikhail. And yeah, just really thought that everyone there was awesome, and just, wanted to join more token engineering communities and learn and grow and connect with people who are also wanting the same things. So yeah, that's why we're here.
Well, that is great. Welcome to you both. Really great to have you here. Isaac, you're back. I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Well, Jaden, Mikhail, you're very welcome to stay. This is today we have a sprint planning, so we're just going to go through a bit of the work we did on the last sprint and plan what's needed to happen now for work. Yep. So let me just share my screen here 1 second. We're going to start as usual, reading first the reason behind sprint planning. Maybe you wanna do it, Bear or Gideon, whoever.
Sure, yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
The reason behind sprint planning. Topic 1, why is the sprint valuable? The product owner proposes how the product could increase its value and utility in the current sprint, and the whole Scrum team then collaborates to define the sprint goal that communicates why the sprint is valuable to stakeholders. The sprint goal must be finalized prior to the end of sprint planning. Topic 2, what can be done this sprint? Through discussion with the product owner, the team select items from the product backlog to include in the current sprint. The Scrum team may refine these items during this process, which increases understanding and confidence. Selecting how much can be completed within a sprint may be challenging. However, the more the team know about their past performance, their upcoming capacity, and their definition of done, the more confident they will be in their sprint forecasts. Topic 3. How will the chosen work get done? For each selected product backlog item, the team plan the work necessary to create an increment that meets the definition of done. This is often done by decomposing product backlog items into smaller work items of 1 day or less. How this is done is at the sole discretion of the team. No one else tells them how to turn product backlog items into increments of value.
Great, thanks. So now we're going to jump straight onto the task board. And we, as usual, we're going to first just do a quick check on the past sprint, things that were completed or things that were not, and we may or may not want to move to this sprint. And well, I think I mentioned this on the last meeting, but we are going to reserve some time by the end for Sean to present and chat up a bit about the QF tool he's been working on and get some feedback. I sat down with him last week and it's looking pretty good so far. I'm really excited. But cool, yeah. So let's start with this. Here we are looking at the past sprints, so sprint 7. Let's start with you, Gideon. We have these tasks. Let's go one by one. About this one, do you have any update or?
Yeah. Honestly, that was a little bit early. I feel like we can do that one. Yeah. I'm gonna. It's not gonna get done. It didn't get done in this last sprint, so we're gonna move it to the next sprint. But I think it'll probably be like on Thursday when I get to that. The other stuff is just higher priority right now.
Okay, but so it's this Thursday or the next one. So it's
Yeah,
within
going
this
into the next
sprint,
sprint.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. This one, I think this one is done, right?
Yeah, it's done. I mean, we haven't sent them out, but the agreement is there's agreement.
Yeah, our part is done. So.
Well, we still got, but yeah.
And this one?
I don't know what you got. It'd be good to get your all take on this. I mean, I feel like this is kind of done. I mean, for this round, these are the folks we're going to focus on: token engineering influencers and public goods donors. We're not going to. I don't think we're going to do a lot more on that in this round, other than the one thing I have done is set up public goods donors like a private list on our TC Twitter, so we can start to build those connections and start to build engagement with those folks over time. But I think that this is kind of like this. These are the first steps into like a longer term initiative. So I don't know. Am I cheating? Maybe. But I'm not sure what else we can practically do in this time frame for this round. So open to other interpretations of that, though. I honestly would love to hear people's feedback on that.
I mean, one thought I have is, let's say in 3 weeks, somebody comes on my radar and I thought, oh, they'd be a great donor. How would it be best for me to pass that information on?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, we're the absence of a good CRM right now, like the loss of our CRM, is really painful. That's where that should go. I mean, I think for now, maybe what we should do is, I hate doing this in Notion. But maybe that's where we need to do it.
What do you mean?
If we're trying to track, I mean, one thing that we could do, Tam, is if that's somebody that is on Twitter, we can add them to the Twitter list that we have, one of the 2 Twitter lists that we have, and then just use that as the way that we track, and then we can kind of use that as a way to also engage with those folks through the TEC account. But the longer term answer to this is CRM.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, to be honest, I feel like this is something that we will just need to look at every time we do a new Gitcoin grant round. Like who is the most likely to be a donor this round? And so we probably are just going to continue to do it every round. Which is good, because I feel like we'll be evaluating the quote unquote freshest possibilities each round.
Yeah, and I think it's also a lot about just like figuring out where maybe less in this case it's less about specific individuals and it's more like clusters of people around clusters of interest, and finding out who are the influencers, the accounts that those people listen to.
Just curious, what were you using for your CRM, I guess, before that went away?
We were using HubSpot. Well, Nate, you can provide more background.
Oh, yeah, we were using HubSpot. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe the issue has more to do with us as a DAO not having a physical address we can use right now to sign up for the newsletter. Right?
I mean, technically, we can use the CRM to hold, any type of data information we want. It's very hard to use, and to manage the CRM is difficult as well. So I think the hardest part is that even if we did have all this information, there's not nothing we could really do with it in terms of sending out newsletters or anything like that from the CRM. But we can store data there. But I think we could just easily do it through Twitter or any other doc without having to pay the funds for CRM.
Well, over time we probably will end up there, but I think it's fine. So, okay, but so at least for this project, are we going to do any other work for the donor segments or not? Like if we won't do any say any other Twitter list, we may as well just mark this as done.
You know what I'll do? Just put it into the next sprint. What I'm going to do is come up with something here in Notion that will basically just be a place where we can have our two segments and we can start to track information on that.
Okay, cool. What else? All right, with that, we're done with you. Then we have here Joseph. Is he? Okay, he's here. So we have 4 tasks. We have first the content calendar. In the Three Spaces promotional landing page, both seem to be related. So maybe you have an update about them.
I think with regards to the end calendar, I think Gideon's done that. That's what I was going to speak to you about. I think it was before the grants round started. I've tried to schedule a meeting with you with that, so you can probably just delete these two because these ones have probably been done by Gideon's Word document and also the content calendar within Notion. And so for the planning and Twitter spaces, I'm just waiting for Nate to confirm with me when him and YGG want to do the actual like Twitter spaces for like promoting and helping projects shield their projects. Once I've done that, then I'd be able to schedule in the actual Twitter space Twitter and then probably ask Acid for like some quick banners so that we can start promoting it.
Yeah, and there's a lot I added to that. I wasn't sure. I didn't want it to get too messy with the number of tasks, but there are a lot of tasks there that need to be accomplished that I put in there in order to kind of execute on the roadmap for the communications plan. And I'm not sure exactly how you want to, if I should put it into the TEGR2 projects or if I can just keep it within this larger. But it'd be nice to have these tasks broken down, and if anybody wants to assign it to themselves, they can. But I leave that option up to you, Isaac. If there's anything that I can, so I would like to have some detailed aspects of each of these tasks and break them down, just like this one is.
Hey, Nate, your mic is kind of quiet. If you can turn it up, we can hear you, but it's quite quiet. Just wanted to say that.
Apologies. Yeah. Isaac, did you get any of that? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if it's relevant to the grants round and it's something we have to, like, if you think if if um if doing those descriptions and those tasks will help you accomplish stuff for the grants round, feel free to do so and feel free to add it to the grants round program.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I should go ahead and make another project out of this instead of encompassing it within all of the other tasks within the TEGR2, because I do think this needs to be kind of a big focus for us right now, especially during this upcoming sprint. And so I would like to make these kind of subtasks rather than embedded within this one.
Okay. Well, we can chat later, but if it's for the grants round, it would probably make sense to keep it on the same project. Just also because this is a project we are going to do more than once. So we could in the future just copy and paste everything that's on the same project. That'd be helpful. You wanted to say something, Gideon?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't have a strong perspective on like whether this should be its own project or task or not. But I do think it's big enough. Like I think that there are these two things here: the fireside chat and then the shilling rounds or the fast pitch rounds, and they're distinct enough that I think they could be broken out and they would still be. It might be easier to track these things because they're going to be somewhat different. And by the way, I did hear back from Trent. He's will. It's just a timing thing, but he's totally willing to be one of the panelists with us. So we've got Livia, YGG, and Trent. That's a great. I mean, that would do it. So that's exciting, and we just have to hear back from Ben. So so I feel like we should probably just try to lock that down for Tuesday or Wednesday. I put a note out to Trent. I think we should just lock it down for Tuesday or Wednesday based on what Trent can do, and then YGG, if you can be somewhat flexible, if we can get Livy to be somewhat flexible, then we can schedule that and get that going.
Yeah, totally. That's good for me.
Okay. And just one last thing, I just want to say, Jade and Mikhail, you know, sorry, this is pretty nerdy deep dive into a lot of project stuff. So like it may, I mean, hope you'll get a sense of what's going on here, but it's not a great overview of the TEC. It's just like a deep dive. So
yeah, no, it's all good. We're just sponges. We're just absorbing, so it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting us like kind of hop in and stay in here too. But yeah, I understand the structure of a complex sort of projects. There's lots of little mini stuff that pops up, so it takes a lot of focus. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and in terms of the script for that, I was hoping maybe YGG. I don't know if you have time to. Maybe we can have a sync on the script and kind of some of the questions. The entire goal of this is trying to stress the importance of token engineering within the industry, up there on par with infra and ZK and all that good stuff. So it's something that I kind of want to make sure we get right and have a review process for everybody in particular on exactly what is the overall kind of macro messaging we have around token engineering and what we're providing donors in terms of stressing the importance of it.
Sure, Nate. Yeah, I think let's do that. I'm happy to do that today. Just opening up my calendar, but I think today I have a few things, so I'll DM you. We can coordinate.
Can I also have a listening on that meeting as well? If you just drop me a message, I'd like to be a part of it as well. Possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have that chat going, right? So I'll drop it in there.
And Isaac, do you have any preference on the breaking down of this project, or should I just keep it as is in this task?
I mean, the way that works best for you to, keep yourself organized is the best way. So as long as it's clear enough for others to also be able to jump in, you 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 do yourself. If anything, you can text me later and we can probably even do some of that together.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so we have this one, right? And then the other one for you, Joseph, was the pre-run creative threads. I know some of them are already out, but I'm not sure. Yeah, what's the status overall?
Yes, some of them are already out. I'm still in talks with Marathon Mind to kind of get the rest done, and also like for example the tweet about like the important dates and stuff like that. That's I'm still waiting for like confirmation of like dates for Twitter Spaces and stuff. I've already started the little graphic of like the overall how it's gonna go. So once I get those dates confirmed, then I'll be able to finish off this like infographic, and then I'll be able to I'll talk with Marathon Mind to get a tweet out as soon as possible once I get the dates.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. See, so it looks like the communications tasks are a bit heavy. We have to think of how to probably break them down, make them smaller so that they are more easy to digest. But makes total sense. That's not an issue. Okay, then there's me. So I had a few other tasks that I moved in already before this call. We can chat about them later. Then the community call. So I'm working. I already have some designs from Efra. And the specific dates because we wanted to do this with the in uh, with the theme of the grants round. um it's mostly Gideon and Nate that are choosing the date, but I'm sort of in the loop expecting to see if we can get that done as soon as possible. Then as for these ones that were already completed, the definition of T in the portal, the email was sent out um, by the beginning of the past sprint, and then the branding is pretty much done. Like there's just some ongoing work that we can ask as later, but at least the brand itself is done. And then I don't know, I can just quickly check show the T page, which is just like you know what do T's do, and then a few readings, complimentary readings for people that may want to have a look. Um, yeah, that's that for me. Then we go with Bear. So we have this first one. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so for this one, I think with Nate, I really didn't have the time these weeks to put some work into this one. So I think with him, and he said that he was working on it, so he might be also be able to provide an update on this. Yeah, there's not much. I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe Nate. Yeah, you wanna?
Yeah. So currently, I have the upgraded Notion on the Shelling Point initiative, which was the original one. I am changing that to kind of the Token Engineering Commons outward facing, and so some of the docs within this Notion page, I think my proposal for us is to the one that we're working on from Isaac's side is that we use this for internal work, and then we have an outward facing Notion that shows kind of a history information and translating a lot of the TEC handbook that was done into the relevant information into the new outward facing Notion page. So it'll serve as kind of a pseudo website informational page for everyone. And so that would require us to move some of the grants documentation that's in this Notion and transferring it over to the other Notion. So I don't know how people feel about that, but I do think it's probably the best way moving forward. is to have kind of an outward-facing Notion and kind of an internal Notion that we use.
Sounds good. Seems like people are still hearing you a bit low. In any case, in any ways, we all, this is what I did. We all can just right click on Nate's profile and up the volume as well. That helps. Like I'm hearing Nate just fine. Okay. What you say, Nate, it makes a lot of sense. I think that's appropriate. Let me just, so what I have right now, like I have just these TC resources, and probably we just have like, I don't know, page, for example, and we call it TC documentation, and we start working on that. And then, so for the pages that are on the grants portal, I can just make them be the ones in documentation, and that probably just, that's the same thing.
Yeah, if you can just make the documentation pages actually being able to have a duplicate, enabling that, I can just port it over to the other Notion page.
Okay, I'm not really sure how. I'll text you later, and we can do all that.
Yeah, we can do that right after this. So, and then we'll make it work.
Cool. Okay.
Can I just clarify one thing? So, are you
Sure.
proposing that we replace the Git book with this, or what's your thinking on how those fit together?
Yeah, so the TEC handbook has a lot of valuable information, but it also has a lot of outdated information. And so updating that information and transferring it over to a new Notion page that has just all of the TEC history, background, how to buy TEC, all the public goods docs, all of the grant round information, having all of our kind of external facing information that we need to be showing, having it on that Notion page, and then using this one with the sprints, having as kind of an internal page that we use just for communications internally.
And then are you recommending that we on the website link to that instead of to the Git book?
Yep, exactly. And so we'd have just kind of this outward facing Notion that we manage collectively, and then we have this internal one is separate.
We can.
Yeah, if we needed to change the links, we can, but I'll try to get that all done today. I already have a lot written out for it, so I'll try to finalize that today.
Okay, good. Now, Bear, with the budgeting, did you? I think if I remember correctly, you said this was not like the top priority for this sprint, but just curious if you have any update.
Yeah, not for the last one, but I think for this coming one, I think this should be one of my priorities, especially like in regards with the team and a new funding proposal. I think I created another task for next sprint already in regards with the funding proposal. So these are two pretty connected, pretty related. So I think this will be part of my focus. And it was also linked to the other one, the financial reporting one, that I was able to have some good progress on that. But I'm still just missing one last piece of creating the actual reports, monthly reports of that period of January to July, and have those as packages that we can always review. Then I would be able to finalize this task, and the budgeting, that will be the idea of my priority for this upcoming sprint.
Sorry, I got a bit lost. So so you're saying both these tasks are priorities for this sprint, right?
Yeah, that's right. The financial reporting one, it's almost done. The budgeting one, that should be kind of like the greatest priority, all together with starting to put together the new funding proposal.
Okay, perfect. Now we go with the application form.
Yeah, that's the work on the application form that projects use to apply to the round. We had a good conversation, good discussion with the team about the different questions we should include and how to improve the current ones. So that was done. Then we have the grantee acceptance sheet. This was another tool that I was proposing that we could use to track acceptance and rejections of projects, as well as their stage level or their maturity level, with a specific framework that I've suggested since last round. That also got completed. And then there's the coordination team agreement that was also practically done. So we don't need to count this one. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Okay. Then we have Marathon Mind. Marathon Mind's not here, so I'll probably follow up with him later. Some of these tasks are, well, yeah, I'll follow up with him later. We have now you, Nate, with the newsletter for grants. I know this was started already, so.
Yeah, so this one was something that TEA came out with their newsletter already, which did not mention the grants round, but I know that we have. I left it up there because I know that we have the possibility of sending out a newsletter via Trusted Seed, and I'm not sure if that's something that we want to do during the sprint. If so, let's keep that in the sprint, and we can send out a newsletter through that to our token holders and those in the Trusted Seed.
Are you talking about just announcing the grants rounds being open, or something more general?
Something more general, like including the grants rounds, but I know that we were trying to kind of restart the community call, and so this could be a part of that process. And I'm not sure exactly how we want it to be formatted, or if we had solidified that with the Trusted Seed, and if we need to figure out exactly how to go through a submission process, or who the contact points are for that, so we can actually create a newsletter and have share it with them and have them send it out.
So in the, I don't know about the longer term with like the newsletter idea, but I've already spoken with Ivy, and she is on board for doing announcements for us for the grants, like for basically the opening of the round next week, for both Common Stack, thank you Tam, and for Trusted Seed. So I think we're good in the short term, but the longer term, I don't know. That may be a bigger, I think that's a bigger thing.
Yeah, so I think we should probably put this under the kind of, maybe even rename it to, or if we have a project called Community Call, I think this is something that could be incorporated with that long term.
Okay. But well, in general, we just have to make sure they did some announcements, I believe. We just have to make sure to include these last two on the upcoming round. So I added it to this sprint as well. This was a bit of an ongoing task as well, so that's fine. And I think for these two tasks, we already spoke about them. And I believe there's some that you already moved to the other sprint, right? So we can check them later.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then we have here the QF tool version 1. I have it both on the sprint 7 and 8. I guess I'll just ask you, Sean, do you want to take a few minutes to present it now, or if you think it's going to take you a bit of time, maybe we leave it for the end of the call?
Yeah, I think it might be better for the end of
Yeah.
the call. Yeah. I'm not sure what else is on the board here.
Okay, no, that's good. I agree. Yeah, so let's quickly then check in with this round. So we have already ported over. We have already checked the work from the past round and ported over to these sprint whatever we needed. Now let's confirm. Let me see. When it's live. Okay, Joseph. I'll just pass it back to you and see if you have anything else you want to work on, or if you want to chat about those tasks.
I don't really have anything more really to add because those tasks are kind of like ongoing into the next sprint. And the only thing I would say, yeah, if someone like Nate, Gideon, whoever like needs support with regards to like, any comm stuff or even like any write up stuff, definitely just drop me a message, a DM. I'm just waiting for the dates so I can complete the Twitter the key dates task and things like that. But yeah, for now, I don't really have anything else to add apart from that.
Cool, nice. I'll just ask if you have some time to fill out a bit of the task template, and again, just DM me if you want some help with that. But and I don't know, I like to have some context just for everyone to be on the same page if you can.
Yeah, no worries. I'll drop you a DM probably later on today.
Okay, cool. Then there's me on the list. Most of them I think I already talked about. Oh no, I did not. So this playbook process template for upcoming round. This is something I'm working with Sam. Thank you again, because you're being very generous with your time and experience. But the idea is that we have something that whenever we start a new round, we can just pretty much copy and paste as much as possible. We have already a short runbook we started, and we have Gitcoin's runbook, which is also helpful. But our round, it's a bit particular with the boost and some other stuff, so we are doing our own. And that's that. We have to complete a few other stuff. I won't go too much into detail. Then the feedback and acceptance email. So let me just say we already have 7 grantees that apply to the round. And so by the end of the week, we have to review them and just see whether we are going to accept them or not, or who are we going to accept. And on a Monday, I'm going to send out an email telling them they were either accepted into the round and maybe have some complementary information, a few time slots they can pick for a grantee spotlight and things like that. And if they didn't made it, so just an email saying they were rejected for this round and that they can feel free to apply to the next one, yada yada yada. The review grants, this is almost this is a task just for us, Gideon, Bear, Nita, and me, who are reviewing the grants, to just make sure we track that. And finally, there's the
Hey,
community
Isaac.
call. This is one I chatted about. Yep, go ahead.
Isaac, on the communications to the grantees who've been accepted, one of the things that it's probably just worth Nate and Joseph knowing that in that we'll have an opportunity to communicate to them the fast pitch rounds, like what that's going to be and when those are, and the whole thing about the videos. So we'll need to coordinate on that, on just getting that messaging clear and really, just like here are the like 3 steps, that you need to know once you're accepted, and here's the opportunities to help promote your project.
Yeah, I'll make a copy for these emails, but the part that's with communications and marketing, I'll just wait for you guys to tell me what to include in it. But yeah, I'll probably I think I can get the copy Thursday, Friday, and then we send it on Monday after reviewing it. Okay, cool. And yeah, then the community call, this one I did talk about on the past sprint section. Now with you, Bear, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, here's the one, the funding proposal. I think this is something we probably need to start putting together this sprint in order to have it submitted, well, as soon as possible. We still have August and maybe September for it to pass, so there's still some time, but there are a lots of bits and pieces that we need to put together for this one, so I think taking enough time to do it is probably a good idea. So yeah, so there's that one, and then the impact tracker update. That's as the funding or as the timeline for our last proposal ended in July. As we always do, after that, sending and posting an update on the forum about the progress that we made and yeah, all the work that was completed. And that's something that I would like to do, also doing this sprint. And yeah, those would also be part of the work for me during these sprints, besides the budgeting, the reporting, yeah, and the reviewing grants.
One thing, Bear, as for the proposal, Sean, we should sync with you on just your plans and figure out whether your role is rolled in with the coordination team or whether that's a separate proposal that you put to the TEC token holders.
Yeah. Where do you see that? What's a good space for us to sort of explore that?
We can just set up a chat. Maybe
Yeah.
you Bear to start.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Gideon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Now we have Tam, which has two tasks in here this round. This
Yeah. So the first one's pretty self-explanatory, just supporting the Scrum process, specifically working with you and to Isaac to find improvements and optimizations. And the second one is something that I put on hold to the last sprint, but the reality is it seems like there really should be a more formal process for, first of all, like a formalized announcement that now there is a TEC advisory network, and then, you know, description of how somebody's invited into the advisory network, how somebody can, you know, ask to leave or, you know, exit the advisory network, and this. So I decided to bring it back into the sprint and write something up, do advice process with most of the people in this call today. And then once we have a final thing to publish it on our forum, so the rest of the community is also aware of this. So those are the two things I'm bringing into the sprint.
cool. Really, really nice. And then we have now Nate. This one about the book club we chatted about on the retrospective yesterday. I added it here on this sprint just to have some time to chat about it, but it doesn't need to be on this sprint. I don't think it's that priority, but I'll just leave it to you to speak.
Yeah, so the book club is kind of part of this method of trying to get people, token engineers, engaged. You know, the book club, we usually have maybe a couple people, past book clubs, depending on the content or what we're reading. We have a smaller group of people who are willing to actually participate in that. I'm willing to try it out if we can figure out some good content or some good material to actually read about. we can start promoting that immediately. However, there are other options outside of strictly a book club that we can do. I know that Octopus has shown interest in actually engaging with the token engineering community through Twitter Spaces and having kind of a bi-weekly interview with people, or to kind of cover some types of token engineering articles. So I think that would be a really good option as well. I kind of put this all into that kind of category of like, how do we get token engineers engaged in different ways? And so I think the book club is something that we can test out. The question is I still have access to our original book club Discord server, and so we can utilize that, or we can bring it into the TEC Discord server. And yeah, I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's a thousand ways we can do it. I'd be primarily interested in structuring it so that we, the team, are interested and capable of joining the book club. I like the priority is for development of the team specifically, because in general, like, the academy has some activities, and but the idea is that we all sort of develop. Like, I don't think it makes sense to make it so that we invite everyone, but at the end of the day, it doesn't work for the team, because the idea is really to help the team learn some other stuff. That's the first thing. And then I guess about the details, not really worried about the details, and those are details that maybe we can talk about later. I'm you tell me, like, how you want to do it, but I don't think we want to do it on this sprint specifically. Maybe it makes sense to make it after the grants round.
Yeah, I think that is better suited for post the token engineering grant round. But I do think this is something that is pretty important, and I think it'd be really beneficial to all of us. So
cool. All right, and then then the rest of the tasks are the same. Okay, I'm going to jump now to Gideon. So we have review grants as well. Okay, these are mostly the same ones, and then there's the Gitcoin grants for the TC. This one's new.
Yeah, so that one's pretty straightforward. It's just basically 2 grants, one for our round, and we got to get the wording on that right, so it's clear that we're not going to be applying for our own match. And then the other one is to the Web3 community and education. So this is pretty much done at this point. Yeah, but I've put it out for feedback from folks. But these are pretty small. And then what's the other one here? The messages, again, that will be this week. I'll probably do that on Thursday. The Discord message for TC holders and hatchers. And then also there are the messages for, actually that's, we should probably add one that is just following up on the trusted seed and common space. It's basically just to draft those messages.
Okay, we can spec that out later. Okay. Okay, then we have Marathon Mind, which is not here. I'll follow up with him. I have these 2 tasks that came up as well from the retrospective. Again, I put them here just to quickly chat about them, but we don't necessarily have to do them in this sprint. I don't even think it's appropriate for us to do them in this sprint. Which is the quote, just to get a quote from General Magic for the new website, and then to migrate and update documentation. yeah, any thoughts around them, or should I just move them to remove them from this sprint?
I thought what we said was that we were going to roll that into the proposal that Bear is going to be working on, the website.
Okay, so I should put that, okay, let me just get that in very quickly. Attention page, and I'm also copying the link here. So roll it down. Okay, so that's if the proposal is happening this sprint, then the quote should also be happening this sprint. Is anyone keen on taking on this task?
I mean, I'm not sure if we should just take the step of getting the quote yet. I think, for example, the website, well, the Notion page Nate will be working on will be kind of like a good temporary solution while we figure out these other two things out. But yeah, maybe for next sprint, once we have the proposal with a bit more shape, then we can take this following step.
I mean, but how are we going to have the numbers for the funding proposal if in this sprint if we don't get the quote this sprint? How do we ask for money if we don't know how much is going to how much they're going to charge?
Well, first, because I'm still not sure, I haven't been able to think about that if General Magic will be the best solution for that. I think more than price, what we're looking for is kind of like flexibility of being able to change and edit the website ourselves. I don't know if that's a solution they are able to provide. So I think there has to be some research done prior asking about codes. But yeah, that's my thought.
Okay, so I'll probably just rephrase.
Can I throw in some thoughts too?
Yeah, sure, please.
So there's two things. One, just to say, General Magic just redid Common Stack's website, specifically, so I can attest to that it is easy to edit, and we're using, I believe the Token Engineering Commons one when it was built was not using a kind of easy to use template with the CRM built in, and I don't think that was ever really resolved. So any new website should be using a very simple, easy to support template. So that just a small, I'm very satisfied with the work that General Magic did for Common Stack, and it's a good example for you guys to go look at. And then the second thing is, in order to get a quote, we need to do some work. We need to understand what it is that we want for the website, and then they would be able to give us a quote for what it is. And I think that's a piece of work that somebody would have to put together, just like a scope of what the expectations are for us to be able to then ask for a quote. And whoever we end up doing it with, have it understanding what we're asking for, I think is not a bad, it's going to be work that we could use later, whoever we end up going with.
That's fair. Yeah. So I guess I'll rephrase the whole task. But anyways, someone has to take on it if that's something we want to include on this funding proposal. So my capacity in this sprint is super low because of Ethereum Argentina. So we have to see if any of you guys is open to either taking the work of scoping what we need and want, and or doing the research on pricing options, etc., which can be both either one task or maybe we separate them.
So I'm willing to step up on this one and work with Bear on it. I think think I'm going to lean into what Tam is saying here, which is, it may be that in this proposal, we don't have the specific amount of money. We might have to come back to token holders for an actual project to redo the website. But what we could do in this proposal is, let's think about this and not solve this on this call. But either we just use this next push, this next proposal to figure out what our communication solution is. I think it's not just the website. I think there's like a number of things that we got to get figured out, and it's probably worth having a plan for doing that. And then either we're funding it in the next round, or we do a special request to token holders just around comms. But that would be my suggestion. And I could take this on in the next sprint. I just don't think I can do it in this sprint just because of what we're trying to do with the grants program.
Yeah, well, just very quickly, we are at the top of the hour. I just want to say to Jade and Mikhail, I don't think we said this. This is a 2 hour long session. Again, feel free to stay, but if you have to jump out, feel free to do so. And if you guys want to chat about the work we're doing at the TEC, or if you guys are interested in, maybe you have a project that you want to get into the grants route or anything, feel free to send me a message and we can chat. Just want to say that. I think it was you, Nate, who was about to talk.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in terms of the website, I think this is a much, much lower on the priority list in terms of things that need to get done. I think, even things like the migration would have to be take priority over this, just because I think that the components of the website, the things that we would want to include things like, interface to the bonding curve, governance, interfaces for those types of things that would be ideal for a website. And the whole purpose of why we have one is to provide utility for those who are actually utilizing it and driving traffic to that website. And until we figure out some of these fundamental things before, I think this is much lower on the list. And I just kind of one of those things, like it'd be nice to have immediately, but we really need to figure a lot of things out. So I generally agree with Gideon on that notion.
Yeah, I don't think it's priority. I just thought, like, if it's going to be included on the funding proposal, then it is a priority. But if we don't have to, or if we don't have to include it on this funding proposal, then I would probably even suggest we don't take on a lot or any of these on this particular sprint, at least. Okay, so then I'll probably just move it then, if that's fine. I'll put it onto the 9 so we can review it on the next one. We'll see how that goes. And the migrate update documentation, I think that's the same. That's probably even not even for the 9, but for the 10. That's a bit of heavy lifting to collect all the data we had on other places and migrate it to Notion, but also update it so it's relevant to our current state. Cool. I guess we have already reviewed everyone's work. I guess I'll just open the floor very quickly to any other comments, or if someone wanted to include some more work or something like that. And if not, then we can jump straight into YGG's progress on the QF tool. Five, 4, 3. I'll see someone writing on the chat. That's Joseph. Well, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, seems like we're happy with the workload. I see Joseph writing. I'll check if. Okay, he needs to go. Okay, that's fine. I'll get you. I'll see you later, Joseph. Thanks. Good. fairly happy with this plan. I think we're getting better. Now I'll just pass it over to you, Sean, to present.
Thanks, Isaac. I'm just going to quickly switch from my phone to my computer. Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, I've been having fun working on the QF algorithm with the subject matter expert signal injection. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Great. So I'm not going to take too much time and go through all the details, but I'll give a quick overview. I've been working mostly with Isaac on this, and there was also some initial work done by Rex. So maybe I'll start here. Rex has created a repository called Aloha. So this is sort of the product name that we're going with so far with our custom quadratic funding algorithm that applies what we call subject matter expert signal into the voting algorithm. And that just gives a boost to each vote or each donation. It applies a coefficient that is dependent on whether or not the voter has TEC tokens and or Academy credentials, Token Engineering Academy credentials. So Rex posted his initial work here in a notebook called Main, and I've expanded on that. So I basically replicated his work in a notebook called YGG, and then I continued expanding upon that in this TEGR1, and I created this like TEGR1 dataset that has this is kind of, I took out columns that were not necessary, and I also did this thing where I shorten hashes, or addresses, I mean. So an address is normally 64 characters, and for each address, I take the first 8 characters, which is going to be unique, but that's going to allow us to it's visually more appealing. We can see all the columns without scrolling off the screen. So that doesn't change the data at all, doesn't change the results. It just makes things easier to look at. And if we are to map this back to addresses, then we'll just have to match on the 8 characters. And if we continue if this is like standard process, I'll think a little bit deeper about the possibility of collisions. We might want to take more than 8 characters. So this is the standard data set that we are working on. And then we're going to inject 2 more data sets. So we're going to grab TEC token holders and the Academy credentials. And so we'll just take a look at this really quick. We don't need to go through the details of this notebook, but I was doing some exploratory analysis. So here we have the donations data set, and I'm just visualizing the donation amount and the Sybil score that's provided by Gitcoin. This is a cool little widget. I'm using this HVPlot Explorer, and it allows you to do interactive visualizations. So you can kind of select through all the columns of the data and see what it looks like. Get these it's like no code data visualization. So I was just playing around with this. This is something we could expose to the team. If people on the team want to work through data sets with no code, this is something we could, and all of these widgets I'm going to go through are quite easy to post to the web. There's actually a way to do it directly onto GitHub pages. So this repository itself could also host these widgets. So we have the donations data set, roughly 250 donations. And then we're going to grab the TEC token holders data set. I had some fun with this. I think this is kind of cool, visualizing it on a log scale and just using like some fat circles here. And so we can see the logarithmic distribution of TEC token holders going from 10 up to 100,000, 150,000. Now, what we're doing so far, the base algorithm is very simple. It's like binary for TEC token holding and the TE Academy. So it says, are you a holder with more than 10 tokens? If yes, you get the boost. And also, do you have any TE Academy credentials? If yes, then you get the boost. So the first item on the list, the main reason for bringing this to the team today is I want to get feedback on how to make this algorithm a little bit more sophisticated. And I think I'll come back to that. I'll just keep going. So we have the token holder data set. We have the TE Academy data set. This is what it looks like. We have two different sources that this is coming from. Rex grabbed this from Dune Analytics directly on chain, but was also given a CSV from the Academy and there was a lot of overlap between those two, but not completely overlapping. So it's important to integrate those two data sets. So what came from on-chain tells us how many credentials they have from 1 to 5. Now, Isaac made a good point when we were talking about this, is that we really should be defining these credentials, because some of these credentials are things like completing courses, but some of these credentials are things like attending ETHCC, attending the TE track at ETHCC. So we think it's going to be worth differentiating these different credentials. This is how they were given to me from Rex, is from 1 to 5, and that says how many total credentials. So I guess there's 5 total credentials available through the Academy. The ones that were given to us directly as a CSV were not labeled. They don't have a number associated with them. So just to plot them here, I gave them a -1. These were given to us directly from the Academy, and there's no, they're just addresses. So we mark them as having the flag, the Boolean flag saying yes, get the boost from the Academy, but we don't have any more signal than that as to like what credentials those are. So that's the data set we are working with. Academy data, token holding data, and the votes data. I was able to simplify the algorithm. If you look at the original algorithm from Rex, it's just a lot of it's a lot of machinery being used to do something quite simple. So I was able to just write it in a more simple way, and it looks like this. The base coefficient is 1, and if a token holder is holding TEC tokens, or they have any TE Academy credentials. So this operator here is the logical OR. So if this is 1, or this is 1, or they're both 1, then this whole thing in the parentheses becomes 1. If they're both 0, then it's going to be 0. And so if they qualify, this is essentially saying if they qualify for the boost, and that's the voter we're talking about. This is on per vote. If the voter has the boost, they get an extra 0.5 on their coefficient, so they're going to have a total factor of 1.5. So the coefficient is always going to be either 1 or 1.5. This is based off the notebook that Rex provided me, but from the conversations I had with Enti, I think in the end
the boost actually was a factor of 2, which I don't see reflected in what Rex handed off to me, but I think maybe there was like a last minute change to increase the boost a little bit. So in that case, this should be 1. So the coefficient is going to be either 1 or 2. So votes that are coming from qualified voters are going to have a twice as much impact as those who are not qualified. So that's what we got so far, and I want to get. I think we can iterate on this algorithm. And I've made a little dashboard to explore what the algorithm looks like. So I took the charts from the Medium article by Gideon, and there were 2 different charts there, but I kind of combined them into a single chart. So we can see here the final outcome per project. So we have all the projects here on the x-axis. We have the QF unmatched. So if donations just went directly, if there was no matching pool, we would have these blue payouts for the project. Sitting at the top here is 1,300. With red is the QF is with the matching pool, with the 25,000 matching pool. And then in yellow is the matching pool and the subject matter expert signal injection, the boosting coefficient. And so we can see how this changes. We can sort of explore through this as we change this boosting coefficient, the boosting factor. So with the higher boost, of course, we get a larger spread between the yellow and red charts. And then we also have the matching pool here as a parameter. And so that's kind of just growing the y-axis we can see here. So not a whole lot of complexity going on, but this is sort of a foundational infrastructure to be able to explore our boosting algorithm. And from here, I would like to use this, and there is another chart I have here. There's this kind of weird bug. I should be able to show both of these off at the same time, but just something funny was going on where I wasn't quite able to do that, so I haven't worked through that yet. But this is the SME boost as a percentage of the QF boost by project. So it shows the percentage change by applying the boosting algorithm, the SME boosting algorithm, as opposed to not applying it. And this was a chart from the Medium article as well. And so we can see how we could increase the boosting factor and also decrease it. And if it goes to 0, then of course everything is just unchanged. And so where I would like to take this next, I want to talk about some inspiration I have to bring the algorithm into a bit more of a sophisticated signal integration. Maybe I'll pause here and ask if anyone has questions.
I have questions, but I think it may be where you're going next, so I'm going to hold.
Awesome. Okay.
Maybe a quick clarification, because I think when you showed me this, at first I didn't get it right away. The boosting slide is just adding up. So in 0 by default, you get the coefficient 1. And as you add up, like if you have it in 1, then it means the coefficient is 2. And if you have it at 2, means the coefficient is 3. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the coefficient is going to be your boost plus 1. because one is the default coefficient.
Yeah, so I guess my big question is that, you know, future iterations of this as you move forward is distinguishing this subject matter expert based off of the credentials that we are taking from the TEA. You know, is there a way to distinguish, you know, somebody who's taking just one course versus somebody who's taking all five? And then, you know, how do we incorporate other token engineering experts who haven't participated through the TEA through maybe a reputation or any other type of credentials that we may issue later on?
Yeah, great point, Nate. And that's part of where I want to go with this. So I think differentiating the TEA credentials is really important. Yeah, this is a good. I wanted to bring this to the team. I think it's kind of early. Like, we're just exploring this stuff now, and it's not going to affect this current round that's happening, but we might utilize some of this on the next round. And then I think as we do a couple rounds through this process, we will start to have a really well-defined process that we can start to ultimately package up and promote as TEC innovation on the QF algorithm. But I think we do want to go in the direction of, well, these are basically like NFTs, right? Credentials. These are non-fungible. Each one is unique, and I think we kind of have to treat them that way. And so we might want to introduce like a score or something per credential based on like a committee, you know, even just the coordination team. And maybe we can get feedback from the advisory network, and we can say, here's all the credentials from the academy, and maybe even more, like maybe here's the TEC POAPs, or maybe it's like the Graviton training, you know, whatever it is that we want to integrate. My naive approach would be, okay, well, let's give a score between 0 and 1 for each credential, where 1 is like maximum, you know, maybe I'd say like TE courses, you know, maybe those get a 1, completing a course. And then maybe attending ETH gives you a 0.2 or something like that. But I think we need a bit of a committee process, and I think probably just the coordination team is capable of working through that and making those kinds of decisions with then like some feedback from the advisory network. But it's fully possible on the data science side. So this is a very next step for me, is to work with Enti and work with Rex and go to the academy and try to figure out what the best way is to get these data sets so that we can get as rich. Because right now we don't know what credentials these are. We just know that each address has some number between 1 and 5. And I believe that represents how many total credentials they have. But I think we can do better I'm pretty confident we can work with Rex on this just through Dune Analytics, and then maybe get a bit of support on the academy side to work through this as well. But that's like a next step.
I also have, well, one opinion, and I'm pretty curious to hear what everyone thinks. And oh, well, by the way, hi Juanca, nice to see you here. So first, I think we have to be very careful. Like, I don't believe we are nearly as ready to include more data points, because first, we don't even understand how this works, and second, it's going to be very easy to include new data points, and it's going to be super hard to remove them if they doesn't work. Like, if tomorrow we have to remove academies, it's technically easy, but it's going to be, you know, just a bunch of talking, and maybe hard on the relationship between us. So we have to be very careful and go very slow about adding and removing data points, and that in general. But then specifically and with the academy, I'm a bit concerned with, so like we have the NFTs, the certificates, but in the academy is a project that also enters the round. Um, and so I'm a bit concerned that we are giving the academy an unfair amount of weight into the system. And so the question becomes, yes, we do agree, like there's no question the academy certificates are a good signal of expertise, but if they apply for funding, that it is also a potential risk, and I'm just not sure how to go about that, but that's my one of my concerns.
So I'm going to jump in just to say my thought about that is that the people who have TEA credentials are the people who went through the program, not necessarily the core team at the academy. And I think who better than the people who went through the course to know if the course was useful for them or not. I would not be too worried about that, only because it is distributed not just to the people who have a vested interest in seeing the TEA funded, but the people who've participated in the programs and have a pretty good perspective on valuing the programs themselves.
That's fair, but say for example, then by that same token, we could also take the trusted seed score, um, or the common stack score, because we accept the common stack as a project that advances token engineering. So why don't we, like, in some way or another, we are giving them an unfair advantage, I think. Um, I'm just, I'm not, I don't really know how to go about it, but by default, they a good portion of the potential donors of the academy have a boost by default that other projects do not have, and I'm just not sure if that's fair.
I would say as long as the since the scale is capped and the limit for the project receiving funds is capped, the difference between you know um, 15 people who donate to Token Engineering Academy versus some other project, I don't think the degree of difference is going to be all that impactful. So I kind of see it as a non-issue as long as we have those limits in place.
Yeah, I agree with what Nate and Tim are saying. Wow, I feel like there's some echo here. YGG, I don't know if it's, yeah, that's it. Thank you. I think that in the short term, I'm not that concerned about undue influence coming from the NFTs. But I think if we start to, I think we should be thinking about this long term. Like this is actually could be something that is really important to the TEC. Like this ability to do, bottoms up signals, voting signals for allocation of funds and inject expertise in it is really important. And so, Sean, one of the things I was thinking as you were showing this, and maybe this is where you're going, but it would be great if this interface in a future iteration allowed us to actually add in variables, right? Add in signal boosters as independent variables, so you could add in and then assign the weight to it right in this interface. Because if we could do that, then we can use this as kind of a sanity check. Like we could put in the different weight for a particular credential, like an NFT, and then look at what the effects are on past data sets, and use that to just kind of tune our intuition. And beyond that, even, like, I don't think this should just be like the coordination team doing this. Like, as you're saying, like, I think if we could do this as part of the advisory network, so get people who are really thinking deeply about the future of token engineering and where we need to make investments, and then do like live sessions, almost kind of like the param sessions that we used to do, like the param parties, but it's like params for this thing, and being able to add factors over time. Like we'll start simply, but I think that this, what you're showing here, if we can kind of break out the parameters, and then use this as a tool, could be super powerful and exciting.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gideon. I love that input and that vision, and I think it's completely doable. I would love to do that and create, like an application where you can open this up, you get a param party going and turn on and off different signals and apply different weights to them and see how that's gonna have a different outcome in the funding. I think that's very doable, and I'd be happy if that's kind of how the roadmap is shaping out for this. So I'll continue to work with Isaac towards that, and this is the first feedback session from the team, so I'm just really grateful for the feedback. A lot of good points coming up, and I really appreciate the vision from Gideon of where this can go. So I'll continue to work with Isaac on that. I feel like, there's a really big discussion here about the academy, and Gideon raised a good point of like, this is pretty huge for long-term potential. So I think there's more here, but I'll keep going for now. So the other signal, of course, that we have is the TEC token holders distribution. And right now, we inject this as a 0 or a 1. Does the person have 10 tokens or more? And that'll qualify them. So there's a couple discussion points here. The first thing to do is I think it'll be pretty obvious, but a bit of a slight boost for people who have more tokens. And that we're not going to give people full whale power. Like, if someone has 150,000 tokens, that's not going to give them 150x on their votes. But we can go from, say, instead of just being 0 or 1, we could maybe go from 0 to 2 in like a continuous kind of. And so how we would do that is we would use a sigmoid function, or you can look up activation functions. So in machine learning, we have these kind of activation functions, and so you can think of this as there's a threshold amount. So once someone has a threshold amount of tokens, they'll begin to qualify, and then the more tokens they have, the higher the signal that they'll give, and we can use kind of like a sigmoid so that it caps out. But then the next step would be parameterizing that. So when I talk to Isaac about this, he feels pretty strongly that we should have a bit of a higher minimum, like on the order of 100 or potentially even 1,000 tokens to qualify for this. And so that's kind of picking where that threshold is going to start and where that activation is going to start. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 100, maybe it's more. And then it'll have just sort of a linear gain and max out at some factor, maybe 2, maybe more. But yeah, I'll stop there and maybe hand it over to Isaac. Do you want to speak a little bit about the rationale behind having a higher threshold?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so from at first, so I think choosing a higher threshold has two main benefits. The first one is protection against any kind of attack. So like 10 TEC tokens is $5. And there's people spamming and attacking folks on Ethereum mainnet, which one transaction can cost 10, 15 bucks easily. So like it's a very little amount of money, and we are giving anyone with that low requirement a fair amount of power, you know. So if you take the $5 and you add the QF formula, if someone could spread 10 TC tokens across hundreds of addresses, they could really change the results of the round, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, it's not as important, but I also think it's relevant enough, and it's money. So we have to always think of sustainability long term, and money doesn't. Even though it seems to happen sometimes in Web3, money doesn't appear from nowhere. So if we want to be sustainable, we have to generate tributes from the ABC, and if we want to generate tributes from the ABC, we have to have people give more than $5 to the bonding curve to get a 2% tribute on that. So that's kind of that. So what I told YGG is that maybe we can, or ideally we would have the most of the boost would be around the center of the distribution of that curve. So maybe the curve it starts at 10, but it doesn't have any significance up until 100 or 1000, and then from 100 or 1000, the curve has like a more pronounced line till 10,000 or 100,000, and there it caps and becomes linear, so that big whales can't also have like too much influence, something like that. I was thinking, but we just have to see what everyone thinks, but also how that really ends up playing out.
I think I mean, I know that some people have done this before, but the amount of time holding the token having more weight than the actual amount. Not sure if it's possible right now, but yeah.
I have some other thoughts to throw into this brewing pot, and I really appreciate that thoughtfulness, Isaac, and that's also an interesting idea, Nate. Just so some thoughts. This idea of binary 10 or not was definitely like the first iteration of this, and your arguments are very logical in that scenario, Isaac. But knowing that there could be like a weight based on distribution range of something like 0 to 2 is also very interesting. And maybe rather than making token holders who have less than 100 or 1,000, like removing any boosts that they have, maybe keeping it something minimal along that distribution could be an interesting solution. Because a few things. One, this idea of having this attack vector is compelling, but we can find a way to make it actually benefit the TEC more than the value that they would be able to spread in a QF TE fund. So for me, the risk that somebody would buy 1,000 TEC tokens to be able to boost their matching power for a TE donation round seems pretty low. I mean, yeah, it's on the vector, but I think it's not high risk. And I think the tributes that the TEC would receive when that person buys and sells their tokens on the bonding curve could be interesting for the TEC to continue to steward. Also, there's something that I feel a little bit strongly about. The TEC doesn't seem to be like, I feel like the people that are buying TEC that would hold TEC tokens, they're just not scammers and speculators yet. Our market cap isn't that big. Our bonding curve protects us from wild price fluctuations. So there's some reason that those people did get enough interested in TEC to hold TEC tokens. And I think we should honor that value, even if it's not with a large boost, with some like 0.01 or 0.1% boost, even if you're holding like, one TEC token. So that's the argument I would make there. And then I just also want to throw out, I know we're talking about the monetary TEC token now, but in the medium term future, we will always also have a reputation token that can also be one of these credentials or signals for Boost, which will be very compelling as well.
I second that. I think that the near-term threats, I mean, I'm just repeating, I think the near-term threats, actual threats, are quite low, given the amount of money that we're giving away and just how visible we are. But longer term, as our pool expands, as like how much we can give away grows, then yeah, it will become, there'll be some vulnerabilities there. I mean, I guess my take on this is, this is not just some side project that the TC is doing. Like, this is a capital allocation, right? This is like figuring out how we, as a commons, get really good at integrating the wisdom in this community. And so I think the ultimate signal we just need to be really concerned about is like intelligence about where to invest. And putting the like token, like, you know, token utility, that has to come second. Because if we're really good at allocating capital the best way possible for like the public good, there will be token utility that will follow. And so I think what we're trying to do here is tune the signal in ways that really match to the best allocation of public goods funding. Now, what that is, like, that's going to be up for debate, but that's why we're going to have this advisory network and other people to be able to provide feedback for us. So I guess the concise way of thinking about this, in my view, is that everything that we're doing with the way we parameterize this should really orient around really good capital allocation decisions, the intelligence that is required for that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think in general we just have to be careful. I think because even though there's not really any risk to our round, and I don't think we'll be in a lot of time. But this is so. I don't know. I think it's important for us as the TEC Commons, like as a place of token engineers, to be really mindful of how we design these things, and then the plan is also to open source this in a way where everyone can use it. So we just really have to think about this. And then it's when you were talking about cap, capital allocation, I remembered conviction voting. And so precisely the way or the reason conviction voting is useful is because locking up staking your tokens under a decision um, makes correlates the effect of the decision with the price of the token. So like it hurts you, and that's also a reason why increasing a bit where the bulk of the coefficient is helpful, because making a bad decision with 10TC it's not going to, you won't really care. So like there's a lot of incentives alignment, but I also agree with what Tam said of like, so we can start from 10 to say 100 and have like a very soft curve that goes from, let's just say 0.01 to 0.1, let's say. These are just random numbers, and then from 100 to 1,000, 10,000, it goes from 0.1 to 1, for example. So everyone gets, that's a bit extreme, but just an example. Everyone gets even a bit of matching, but the concentration is where people have really stake in the TC.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for your inputs. I feel really complete with this conversation. I feel pretty confident with the direction that we are going with this. And just with that kind of parameterization, Isaac, that you were just laying out, is like, yeah, I want to take Gideon's advice and make that exactly that interactive, so that we can all explore that together. So I'll go ahead with the sigmoid application here and work towards a sort of application where we can parameterize that together. And then I will continue to follow up with Isaac and Rex and see if we can get a better data source on the Academy data that describes what these credentials are for. Yep, that's the next steps. So I feel really happy with all the feedback that's been provided.
Super cool, Sean.
Yeah. Very, very
Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Cool. Again, I think I tell you this every time we speak, but really, really grateful for having you here back, and this is amazing. And I was just speaking with Gideon. This, like, the whole SME boost seems to be moving quite a few people around us, so that's great. I think that was the right call that Gideon made to try to include that into QF. And well, we're pretty much done for today. I guess I can just open it up back again for 5 seconds and see if anyone has any other comments, thoughts, whatever. And if not, we can leave a bit early.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to share that today we started the Graviton training on the Optimism Discord server, and that yeah, it's an exciting proposal because it's something that was born in the TEC, and it's cool how we can create value and also offer that value that we created here to other communities. And yeah, I've been a little bit far from the TEC, and I really like to see you all here, like, carrying the flag. And I hope that we can have a second spring um, at some point, because really the experience that we had some years ago was remarkable for me, and I know that we've all been working on this bear market um, to try to continue that fire lit. And yeah, it hasn't been easy. There's a lot of things to do, and yeah, I hope that all of the dreams that we all have can get a space, and that also always that token engineering is not only the technology, and that somehow I've been trying to also raise awareness about how also social sciences affect directly yeah, the tokenized complex systems. And yes, that there we are all in this learning journey, and that I really hope that the field every time gets more attention. So yeah, I just wanted to share that we started the annual Graviton training in our community.
That's very cool. Congratulations. Very nice. And thanks for the words as well. I do believe the same, and just, I don't know, let me know how it goes on Optimism. Anything else people want to share before we go?
Yeah, maybe Wonka, you could share how anyone who's interested in joining that program can participate in the Graviton training on optimism.
Yep, please. Well, okay, just the final count to 5, and then we can go. 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Of course. Yes, it's in the Optimism Discord server, and sessions are gonna be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are gonna be the same lesson, just in different time zone, and Fridays are going to be a special lesson. This Friday we'll have Durgadas, and how much he's someone who has like given us a lot of learnings. And yes, if you join or if you invite someone, please feel welcome.
Also, I just wanted to offer analytics help with the with your project YGG, and I've done like donor analysis. Would love to help out with feature engineering and parse out some of the credential noise, if you will, and help hunt down some better data as well. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Jade. That's really exciting. Thanks for for volunteering to join the team on that front. It's always nice to have people who are not afraid to jump into the hardcore the hardcore stuff with code and everything. So cool. I'll send you a message, and then I'll probably coordinate with Isaac on just how to the best way to do that, get you oriented and that kind of stuff.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Excellent. Wow. I think this I don't know, I'm pretty happy with this call today. Like, we got a bunch of stuff done, and a few new faces. It feels nice. But if there's nothing else, then we can go 10 minutes earlier. Just I guess some quick reminders. So yeah, we have already started this sprint number 8. I'll follow up with a few folks that to complete a few things. Round starts next week. There's still time for grantees to apply. So if anyone knows of someone who wants to apply, remember to reach out and make sure they apply. And I don't think I'm missing anything else. Well, I'm going to be, well, not gone. My capacity is going to be pretty low next week because of the conference in Argentina. So if you need anything from me, please let me know so I can prepare myself in advance. And with that, yeah,
I have
we are
a
all set.
question.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a data table where we're tracking projects for QF, projects from the past rounds, and also maybe projects that we're reaching out to invite to apply? How is that data being organized?
So I did reach out to, could be organized better. Not going to lie. For the past round grantees, we sent emails because we had the emails, and then for this upcoming round, I've done a bit of reach out, and I think Nate has to, probably Nate or Gideon. Okay, see you later, Gideon. Thanks.
Thank you, Gideon. See you.
Yeah. Need to yeah, we need to get that on a spreadsheet somewhere to have it more organized. But we have reached out to a few folks already.
Okay, yeah, cause I find that pretty interesting, tracking, because it's kind of like what Gideon was saying about let's do capital allocation really well. So I think tracking all these different TE projects is going to be a big part of that. and like we can just continue to improve that process over time. Like I know you have a sort of a lean method now, and then we can just, and I'm doing my own like kind of tracking, so I think we can just like slowly kind of merge that and turn it into more of a process.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we had a tracker for the first round, but we really yeah, we didn't really use it on this one. Kind of my bad. I'll actually just make a note on the run book we have to make sure we include that for the future. Let me see. Okay. Well, thanks for the reminder. That's very helpful. By time, thanks. We're closing up anyways. Does anyone has any other comments? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we are good to go. I'll see you guys next week. And Jade and Mikhail, thanks for joining this session. I hope you enjoyed all this. And again, feel free to reach out about anything, and we can just talk about TC and T stuff in general. See you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, nice
Bye.
to meet you. Thanks, Isaac.
Take care.
Thanks everyone.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.